Hey, what's going on, YouTube family? I want to make a video about this video that I just discovered a couple of days ago. I was just scrolling, just googling stuff and searching for certain topics on YouTube or whatever, and I always made the point that the reason why the relationship market, reason why the dating market, the dating scene, or whatever you want to call it, one of the reasons why it's chaotic, and I always give my unique opinion on this is just my unique opinion on it. One of the main reasons is that there are good people out there, there are good men out there, there are good women out there, but the reason why it's hard to find good, the reason why it's hard for women to find a good man, the reason why it's hard for men to find good women is because quote unquote good, decent people are not assertive. They'll put themselves out there to be seen by other good, decent, responsible people. And that's why it's hard for, like, people find people of quality. It's very hard. And I just stumbled upon this video, which kind of like, it's a Christian video. Even though it's a Christian video, you got to deal with reality that majority here in the world, the majority of women are Christian. That's just how it is. So even if you're a man who's not a believer, if you're not religious, whatever, um, a lot of times if you want to find a good woman who's grounded, who's traditional, whatever you want to call it, more than likely she's gonna be Christian. This is just reality. And this video, the reason why I'm playing this video is because she's making a lot of points that I've been saying for like a long time. How a lot of Christian women are single because of religious, their own religious teachings that they follow. You know, the whole thing about being patient. So all this kind of stuff is really hurting Christian women from finding good men who are out there. So let me just start this video, and I'll just add my commentary here and there.
Hi, Charlene here, and I encourage women to be proactive in dating. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 7 ways that churches keep women single. And before I jump into this, I just want to say that my heart here is not to blame or attack anybody, but to set people free. And I will be using some notes just because I have a lot to get through today. So let's go ahead and get started. 7 ways that churches keep women single. Step number 1, they sell books and conferences with super spiritual advice, like just wait on the Lord, with no call to action, which leads to years of perpetual singleness for many women. Step 2,
Exactly. That's what I've been saying for like a long time. This whole idea of being patient and the right man will come. Just pray to Jesus and he'll send you the perfect knight in shining armor. He'll come sweep you off your feet as long as you're patient and wait. That's a bad teaching right there. And I've always said that a lot of women, even a lot of men, fall for this. They're thinking that if you're not, they're not really proactive. They're not really out there in the world. They pretty much like sit and wait. Especially like women who are homebodies or whatever. They just sit and wait and pray that God will send them the right man without them putting any effort themselves trying to find a man.
there's no practical instruction on how to date. Sermons are typically about how to be content in singleness, how it's good to just wait, or it skips right to marriage and gives people marriage advice for.
Now I've heard that before. I remember this could have been like a couple years ago. I went to a church Bible study, and the pastor was actually the topic was I believe the topic was on like Christian dating or whatever, and like toward the end of the Bible study, The pastor was like, singleness is good, or something to that effect. He was pretty much saying that, if you're single, that's a blessing and all that. He remember saying that his whole premise was like, well, the Apostle Paul was single, so they gave him, since he wasn't tied down with the family and children. He wasn't tied down with the family and children, wife, whatever. That means that you have more time for the Lord or something or something like, you have more time to spread the word, spread the gospel, or whatever. And he said singleness is a blessing, and that really kind of turned me off when I heard that. And I'm like, why would you say that? The whole topic of this Bible study is Christian singles. I forgot exactly what the topic was. It had something to do with like Christian relationships or something like that, fighting marriage or something. But then when I heard that, I was like, that totally goes against the first commandment that God gave Adam, which was be fruitful and multiply. So, yeah, but anyway, let me just continue.
Improving their marriage. Not giving practical advice in dating leaves many Christian single women alone in navigating the modern 21st century dating issues that arise. Step 3. The standard for a guy that's good enough is set so high that very few, if any, real men can actually meet the standard. Some of the standards include that he is a spiritual leader, he prays, he fasts, he reads devotionals, he reads the Bible. Do you know what? A ton of men don't even like to read. So if you're looking for a man that's reading books constantly about spiritual topics, there just aren't going to be as many as you want there to be with all the other qualifications that you're looking for. Guys are more inclined to read a book that's practical, like something about business, finance, or sports. Also, statistically, many single men are not in church. They don't go to church. They typically go to church when they get married and they're raising a family and their wife wants them to go to church. I'm not saying there's no single men in church, but just statistically, it's a very low percentage of who is.
There are single men in church. Not as many as single women, but when I started going to Bible studies and stuff, when I started going to church, there were it depends on the church. Not all churches like this, but there are good single men in churches. So like I said, it probably depends on what kind of church. If it's a black church, a white church, or it probably depends on the denomination or the city, the state, whatever. It just depends. They're like different variables. But when I started going back to church, there were quite a few good, straight, hardworking, single men with money who weren't, didn't have children, they weren't married, whatever. So, like I said, it just depends what church you go to.
Was in church. It's mostly women and married couples and families. This leads to women dismissing good men who aren't in seminary or aren't missionaries, because those are the people that are going to be reading their Bible every day and to that level of spirituality. Step 4, the church preaches abstinence. So if a guy hasn't waited like you have, or if he wants to have sex with you before marriage, or even if he's too handsy with you, you're taught to see that as a major red flag. Some even say you shouldn't kiss until your wedding day.
You just had to be real. You just had to be realistic, guys. Be realistic. This is the 21st century, all right. So I mean, if you gotta find somebody who's a virgin in church, more than likely there has to be somebody who's like very young. Somebody 18, 19. So if you want to find a virgin, you have to find somebody early for that to be reality. But if you're a single woman, a single man, go back to church. If you're in your like 20s, 30s, and 40s, more than likely that person, has been through a divorce or whatever, whatever. So the whole idea of trying to find somebody who hasn't, has sexual intercourse, you just be realistic.
This is not how men or women, for that matter, work. So you end up avoiding dating altogether, or avoid having sex, or being tempted to have sex, so that you are sure to avoid sinning against God by committing sexual sin. Did you know that men have 10 to 20 times more testosterone than women?
Yep.
So if your boyfriend does not want to touch you, that's a problem you need to know about.
Right.
This all or nothing teaching to either be sexually repressed, this all or nothing teaching about being pure causes so many people to either be sexually repressed or feel guilty about their desires and or actions.
Exactly. Sexuality is not a sin. Sexuality is, I'd even look at it from a religious, spiritual standpoint. It's just basic biology. A sexual urge is natural. A sexual urge in a woman for a man is natural. The sexual urge in a man to be with a woman is natural. Just like when you get hungry, you want to eat some food, that's natural. So when you get tired, you want to go to sleep, that's natural. The sexual urge is just the biological urge to procreate, which is natural. So don't put a moralistic overtone on it. It should just be basic, like ABC 1, 2, 3.
And in extreme cases, it cripples and stunts women's growth because in repressing their sexuality, they don't come into a normal sense of confident adulthood, which can impact all other areas of their life as well.
Exactly, and I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of women, older women in their late 20s, 30s, even 40s, who are sexually suppressed. They suppress their sexual desires, which is very detrimental. And not only in the religious community, I've seen that also in the Black conscious community, the woke community. It's just like a lot of women, they for some reason they don't really express their sexuality, not in a raunchy way, but there is a way to be very sexually liberated and at the same time very classy at the same time. There's a lot of people haven't mastered that skill yet.
And this is a big one for me. This really affected me. All right, moving on. The fifth way. The church shames men for being men so that men don't even want to be in church. And then the church tells women that the only place to find a good man is in church.
Right.
Do you see the problem?
Exactly. Most men don't go to church, and that's why I would say that, women need to be more proactive. There are good men out there, but they're not in church. So women really, I can go like a whole rant on that, but there are good men out there who are husband material, provider material, whatever. What I'm saying? There are men out there, but they're not really in church like that. And there are ways women can find good men. There are ways they can recognize a good man, but a lot of women don't know how to find a good man, and they'll really know the sign. But anyway, you just continue.
Problem? I'm going to leave that there. The sixth way. If you do proactively look for a man to date and marry, you're told to be careful that marriage is not an idol in your heart. So now you feel like your natural desire for companionship and love is so bad and fleshly that it's like worshiping another god. Talk about guilt and shame. Even normal dating and positioning yourself to meet and interact with men becomes something that is suspect. So women are second guessing themselves all the time. Step 7. The church emphasizes being equally yoked with a partner so much that women will pass on a man who loves them, treats them well, and adores them, because the man may be less active in his faith or not to the same depth that you are.
Yeah, she really nailed it. And there are good men out there. A lot of good men not even Christian, even though they might exhibit quote unquote Christian attributes. There are a lot. Christian women don't understand that. And I've always said this all over and over again, that in this day and age, this is 2022 going on 2023 as a recording of this video, you got to realize that in this chaotic day and age, We got information, the internet, the information age. We got instant information, stuff like that. The good men out there are going to be thinkers, men who think. When I say that, it's like, think about it. You can go on Google, type in the origin of religion. What I'm saying. We think about it. We got the History Channel, Discovery Channel, A&E. People have seen ancient aliens. People have seen like documentaries on A&E about the lost books of the Bible. The Dead Sea, people seen documentaries on the Dead Sea Scrolls. You know what I'm saying? We're exposed to information about astronomy, the Big Bang Theory, stuff like that. So we're in the information age, and a lot of things within religion have been debunked. And I was make the point that um, you can have men. There are men out there who exhibit, who have good moralistic values, but they're not dogmatic like that. They don't believe in the 7 days of creation. They don't believe in 7 days of creation. They don't believe in the flood. They don't believe the Jonah and the whale story and stuff like that because they're practical men. Practical men don't believe in fantasy, so they're gonna be thinkers. You as a woman who's a Christian, you can believe what you want to believe. But if you want to find a good man, a lot of good men are thinkers. They're analytical, they're pragmatic, and everything. They're not necessarily anti-Christian. They just deal with reality. So the majority of good men out there are not religious. That's what I'm saying.
This instantly rules out so many of the available men that could be incredible companions, husbands, and fathers. Instead of more general common values like honesty, loyalty, and compassion, women feel justified and even pressured to be nitpicky to protect themselves from making the mistake of becoming unequally yoked. The church talks so much about how we should be having good fruit in our lives, but for many women, there is no good fruit in their dating life.
There's no fruit at
With
all.
hyper-spiritual, unreasonable expectations for what a good and godly man looks like, many women continue to add more and more non-negotiable items to their list, which becomes a source of frustration and discouragement as they do not find men who exist with these qualities, and the years continue to go by. While there are exceptions to every point I have mentioned, in my opinion, these beliefs must be addressed and re-evaluated for many single Christian women to get unstuck so that they can date and marry a real, not fictional, man who has flaws and weaknesses just like them.
Exactly. And the men who go to church, not all, I won't say not all of them, but like the majority of men who go to church, they're not really man. What I've seen from my observation, they're not as manly, quote unquote, as men who don't go to church. It's like men who go to church. They're mostly beta males. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And let me just put it out there. It's just like the whole, I've talked about this a lot of times. How like the whole concept within Christianity of being a lamb, being a follower and stuff like that. That's not really. I don't really like that teaching, but I do understand. I do agree with the teaching of like you got God, then under God you have the father, the husband, whatever the husband. Then right under the husband you have the wife, or under the wife you have the children. I believe in that hierarchy. I agree with that hierarchy, but I don't really get into this whole thing of like if you're a godly person, you have to like be a sheep and be a lamb, peaceful as a lamb and follow. I'm not a lamb. I'm not a sheep. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing about sheeps and lambs, they get eaten by wolves. They get slaughtered. They get slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? So it's better. And I wrote like a couple essays. You know, I'd rather be an eagle than a sheep, but that's a whole other story. But I'd like to say I just want to play this video and share it and just give my commentary on it. And in the description below, I put the link to the whole video. And but shout out to Miss Charlene, girl in Christian dating with Charlene. She hasn't posted in a while. This is an old video from 2020. She hasn't posted in like over a year on her channel, but she makes a real good commentary. And one thing I like about it is that it's good that she's taking a proactive stance on dating, which I believe more Christian women should. And don't really put too much emphasis on how you can, I mean, you can find a quote unquote godly man, that's fine, but find a man who's a man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Find a man who's manly, a man who you can follow, a man who's assertive, find a man who's handy, you know what I'm saying, who owns a toolbox, a man who knows how to shoot a gun, it's a man who has a gun license, a man who's practical, a man who knows how to survive, who knows how to change a flat tire, fix a car. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Find a man like that. Don't If you try to like find a godly man, go to church, find a godly man. You can find like a damn polo shirt wearing nerdy guy. You know what I'm saying? Who's not who can't even defend you in the street fight. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm just going on the damn rant. But that's I want to end the video right here. If you want to comment below, and peace.